Hi there. So I am going to do a little bit of a check-in, which I don't usually do, and I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction to the new Patreon video I have coming out. So if you are not on Patreon, follow me on Patreon. You can look me up on Patreon under Jessica Cross, or I think I still come up as Nutty McFreak as well. But many of my videos that I put on Patreon are available without paying anything, but some are. But if you pay $1 a month, even if you only pay it for 1 month, you will get more than a year's worth of content that has gone up on Patreon, but not to the public on YouTube. So I do tend to eventually release most of my Patreon videos, not all, but most, on YouTube, but it is usually about a year behind. So if you are interested in a glut of content all at once, go on Patreon. And if you are interested in any kind of healing videos, I do those on Patreon. I will sometimes do ASMR recordings, audio only, but it's so much setup to do an ASMR video that I don't tend to do those for the higher tiers. But I will do meditations or healings. So where have I been? So I've been gone for a month, which you may not have known because I usually only put out videos on YouTube every 6 weeks or so. But I also don't usually advertise that I'm traveling. So it sometimes feels like bad karma. It's a little bit superstitious. But I do get to travel quite a bit, and I know I'm very, very lucky to be in that position. My parents have some timeshares, and we tend to go to those a few times a year, and my husband does research all over the world, so sometimes grants will cover my son and I going with him, or it'll at least cover part of the travel enough that it makes sense for my son and I, for us to pay for just the two of us. Again, for the most part, if you're paying for a hotel room and a few other people stay, it's about the same cost as it would have been anyway if it's for a grant. So usually the stumbling block is sometimes he has grants that are only for 2 or 3 days, and that does not justify paying for 2 other flights. But we recently had the opportunity to use a grant to Europe that we had from 2020 but couldn't use. So we were able to take a month-long trip to Europe. I have never been to mainland Europe. I've been to the UK twice before. Many years ago. It's been over 10 years. It's been before my son was born. So we were able to take a big long trip, which I mostly planned. There were some stipulations based on my husband's research, but we moved almost every 3 days. And I was tired by the end, but I had so much fun planning this travel. And I enjoyed it so much that I don't entirely want to give it up. So I just did a video that was kind of an introduction to a travel to the Ring of Kerry in Ireland. And the reason I picked that is because when I got home, I had been walking tons when we were in Europe. So I like to do touristy things when I like to do mostly museums when I'm traveling. I like to go when things open and walk and stand on my feet till I can't anymore. And then come home. We did a lot of Airbnbs and crash. And a lot of times at night, what I would be doing is planning the next day. So I had a lot of fun with that. I didn't want to give up the walking when I came home, especially because I have been trying not to gain more weight. I gained the quarantine 15 and then some during COVID, and would like to fit in my clothes again because I am not a fan of shopping for clothes. Also, after climbing a few church towers in Europe, I have noticed that I'm getting older and my knee is not as happy about doing some of the activities that I would like it to be able to do. So I think taking off a little bit of weight would help. I was very nervous that I was going to put on 10 pounds the month we were in Europe, but I did not. And I attribute that to really being on my feet for 5 to 6 hours a day. And even if we were taking public transportation, we were walking to that public transportation. So there was probably almost an hour of walking back and forth to public transportation, and then another 4 or 5 hours of like standing in museums. And I managed to not gain weight and would like to continue to not gain weight. So I am trying to keep myself moving. And one of the things that I started doing was something I've looked at before, but it always seemed a little bit silly. But if it motivates me, then I'm going to do it. So I started doing a Conquer Challenge. And if you're looking for it, it's called the Conquer Challenge. And you get medals for walking a certain amount of miles virtually on an app. And I wanted one that would take me a little bit longer. There are some that are like, you know, the Pacific Crest Trail, so it's really long, or the Appalachian Trail, they're, you know, thousands of miles. I didn't want to start quite that big, although I probably will. I kind of like the idea of like one that I work on almost all year. But I just wanted to start off with a smaller one because my son's gonna really like the medals. I have an 11-year-old. He likes shiny things. He likes treasures. We took him to a lot of castles, and we looked at a lot of hoards that were found in backyards in Europe. And he's very excited about that stuff. So I don't feel as cheesy buying myself a medal if I meet this goal, because my son will take it and run with it and probably hang it in his room. So I started with the Ring of Kerry, which is about, I think it's 123, 133 miles around the Ring of Kerry. And I'm doing it really fast because I am trying to stay on my feet all day, and I am counting being on my feet, even if I'm at a standing desk. I'm counting that as 1 mile for every hour. It's probably not entirely accurate in terms of calorie count, but I don't care. I want to give myself incentive to be on my feet, and that is hard for me. I don't love just standing, but I really want to get myself to do it more. So I started doing a Ring of Kerry, and then I thought, what if I made a virtual tour of this? So there's this website called Inspirock. It's free. You can use it for free. I think they get their money mostly from you booking tours through them. So they get a portion from whatever company you book those tours with. It's fabulous. You go in and you put where you're going to go, and it will populate, and you put in the things you're interested in. It'll populate your trip with like activities to do, and then you can go in and tweak it and say like, I don't want to do this, but show me what else there is. It was wonderful in Europe because now I have a big packet of paper that tells me everything we did. And we were there for a month, so we did a lot of stuff. There was one day we hit 6 museums in one day. And my husband the other day was like, what museums did we go to? And I was like, I don't remember. Like, I'd remember each of them individually, but I don't know. Let me go get the Inspirock printout. So I created an Inspirock for my Ring of Kerry, which I think will take me about a little less than a month to walk all of, because I'm only doing like 4 to 5 miles a day. I'm not counting some of my other exercises. Like I'm I'm not counting the indoor rock climbing I do and any strength training I do. I'm actually putting that to a different kind of program app that I'm using. So I have this itinerary that I created for the Ring of Kerry, and I really created it based on like the things that we would like to do as a family. And I thought it might be fun to do a tour guide kind of video for ASMR. I used to do a lot of these when I would do audio only. Like I would do things like my cake tasting video, which people still come back and say they love the cake tasting. So maybe I'll do a little bit more of that. I mean, it is often me reading off of a screen. So let me know if that's interesting to you. If there are locations you might want me to make a tour of. I really like making these. They're a lot of fun. So I have the Ring of Kerry coming up on Patreon this month. And either, depending on how much people like them, if people are like, meh, it's okay, but I really want your massage videos, then I may kind of do every other month some sort of tour thing, but I'm kind of on a kick right now. So I may even do next month, my next Conquer challenge is the Florida Keys. That's what they just came out with. So I haven't made a tour of that yet, but I will. It just kind of enhances my Conquer challenge project. Like I get to, because they'll send you postcards, like virtual postcards on the app when you get to certain places, and you'll get to see what towns you have walked in through. And so I can go to each town and be like, oh, here are the things I could have done in that town. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's kind of silly, but I don't want to give up the travel yet. I had such a good time. I'm happy to be home. Very, very happy to be home. But I thought, especially because a lot of people still aren't really traveling because of COVID, and I will tell you, the airports were nightmares. Like, we flew out of Heathrow to come home, and we had to be in Heathrow 3 hours before, and thank goodness we had no checked luggage. We knew that the travel would be kind of chaotic, especially because we were taking lots of trains and even some buses. So the rule was you had to have it all in 2 carry-ons, and we just stayed at Airbnbs where we could do laundry. And we wore the same 5 outfits, kind of mixed and matched, which was fine. But we were very, very lucky in the airports that I could check us in online usually, and we could go straight to security because we didn't have any checked bags, which I highly recommend if anybody's going to try and travel this summer. And then we got back in the States and sat in Boston for 5 hours because everything was so messed up in Boston. So I know it's been just as bad here in the States. So people might want to travel vicariously. I know it's one of the ASMR video genres that I will watch. I don't always get ASMR from it because nobody's touching my face and really paying very close attention to me. That's what I get ASMR from. That's why I tend to do those videos. But I do watch them because I like to vicariously travel. So I hope this is of some interest to some of you. Do come over and visit me on Patreon. There is, again, free content if you find me, and then some very inexpensive, again, $1 for 1 month, and you'll probably have, at least I put out 1 video a month. It's not a ton. It's what I can sustainably do. But there's probably at least 12 up there that you haven't seen. So even if you cancel it after a month, you probably will get your $1 worth. And also, we can connect more if you want to. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know I don't do check-in videos often, but I've missed you guys this month, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what this next video is that'll be coming up. Okay, good to see you. Love you guys. Bye.